Oh, hey, it's RKA. I'm just planning out a road trip. Going to South Carolina in a couple weeks, guys. And I gotta get my stuff together. Speaking of working on the road, fancy that, it's our topic for today. Hey, it's RKA, and it's another episode of Awkward Marketing. Marketing yourself is awkward, but if you're building an online business in 2017, you gotta do it. So let's do it together. Why don't we? Huh? So last year I wrote this blog called Yes, I'm Working on the Beach. No, I'm not getting anything done. And it is a truthful tale of my time as a digital nomad, if you will, working overseas, working in different countries, working while traveling, and the pressure and like the cool kids club to like post a selfie on the beach being like, today's office, here I am, here are my toes, working in the sand, here's my laptop, racking up $1,200 in charges from Apple because I got sand in it. And so I am admitting to you full out, I have posted many, today's office selfie throughout the years, and they've all been bullshit. What can I say? Sophia is going to be on the road in just a few weeks. Yeah, aren't you doing a cross-European tour with your hubby, right? So Sophia's hitting the road, and Sophia's an amazing online business manager, VA. So her whole thing is online business, and she's taking her online biz on the road. So this is for you, Sophia. This is for you. Oh man, I've learned some tough lessons. I lived in Mexico for a little bit over 8 years. And in that time, I was mostly based in Mexico. I'll be real about that. So digital nomad is a little bit of an exaggeration, but I did travel quite a bit. I went to Germany, I went to Hungary, I went to Guatemala, I went to Kenya. I had a horrible, nightmarish experience in the Dubai airport for 36 plus hours. So I did do some working on the road. I've worked on buses, I've worked on planes, I've worked on trains, I've worked in cars, I've worked while walking down the street, right? And so I did some things the hard way. I learned some painful lessons. And that's why I'm here sharing this stuff with you, so that you don't have to learn the hard way, and you too can work from anywhere while also keeping in mind that beach selfie, it's all for show, people. You're going to go and make a production out of getting that selfie on the beach, and then you're going to go back to your hotel room and get the real work done. And that's just the truth of the matter. Don't bring your laptop to a sandy beach bar. Disaster is waiting for you. So guess what? I have 10 tips for you today, and it was hard to actually boil them down to 10. I could have done 15, 20, 25, 30 of this, but I'm going to keep it tight. I'm going to keep it short and sweet, and this is all about working on the road. Again, whether you are going on a working vacay or you're just uprooting and saying, I'm out of here, I'm taking this show on the road, this is for you. And I'm just going to hit it. Top tip, number one tip, and this is a 3-parter. It's all about that net. Now, baby, I got a deal worked out with Megan Trainor where, we're going on the road with that one. So internet all day long. Everybody sing the internet song. When you are working from the road, on the road, from the road, where above the road, beneath the road, beside the road, if you're working in any of those ways while traveling, internet is going to be your best friend and your biggest enemy. And so I got 3 kind of tips for you in terms of handling internet. Oh my God, Sophia says that she had airport horror stories. Oh no, yeah, Tunisia airport during Ramadan. I couldn't move. Yeah, it's so interesting. We learn a lot about different places, even just from the airports. And I was in the Dubai airport. Speaking of internet, this is one thing. My first tip, this is an unofficial tip, it just came to me, but when an airport website promises you free Wi-Fi, don't believe them. Don't base an entire 36-hour layover on getting free internet at the Dubai airport and hoping that works out. I'm not speaking from experience, but I am, and that was a painful time. It was also painful because we didn't have enough money for a hotel, so we had to stay in the airport for 36 hours. We slept. I've got pictures on Instagram of like myself wrapped up like a burrito in a blanket, trying to get some Z's. These days, I probably would spring for a hotel. So things have changed. So I guess that's good news. Okay, so it's all about that net. Don't trust the Dubai airport if they tell you they've got free Wi-Fi. They're lying. And they'll do absolutely nothing to rectify it once you find out that it's not true. So that was a lesson learned the hard way. But internet. So yeah, you know, one of my first tip about the internet when working on the road is you do want to do your research. You want to research hotels. You want to research local coffee shops. You want to research the airports. And then you want to have several backups. Because your hotel website might say, oh, free in-room Wi-Fi, we got Wi-Fi in the lobby and da-da-da. You get there, oh, sorry, our Wi-Fi's down. And guess who isn't going to refund you? That hotel. 9 times out of 10, they're not going to care. They're going to be like, sorry, not sorry. You know, it's, you know, cost of doing business on the road. So you not only want to research where the great internet is, wherever you might be traveling to and from and staying, you need to have backups. That's so hugely important, and I can't emphasize that enough. You want to expect, along with this, you want to expect that internet is going to move a lot slower than it ever will at home. It doesn't matter if you're staying in the best hotel in the whole wide world. Internet on the road always moves slower. Account for that, plan for that, budget for that. And speaking of slow, I mean, if I had one tip, like one central tip for working when you're on the road, is you want to anticipate that everything is going to take more time than you expected it to, that you will move slower in terms of your productivity than you do at home. And if you don't make time for that, if you don't plan for that, you're going to be looking at, you know, a huge to-do list, 90% of which is not done, lots of guilt, and you're going to kick yourself. You're going to feel bad. You're going to feel like a failure because you have not accounted for the inevitable, the distractions and the slow internet and the jet lag or just the travel lag in general. So you want to prepare for everything to move slower, whether it's the internet or just you. You are going to move slower when you're working on the road. That's just the truth. One of my biggest mistakes that I've made over the years, like I'll plan a trip and I'll be like, okay, I'm going to get a ton of stuff done in the taxi on the way to the airport. And when I'm in the airport, I'll get another straight hour. And then I'm going to be on the plane. I'm going to rock it out on the plane. And I'm going to get off the plane. I'm going to go to the hotel. I'm not even going to sleep. I'm going to stay up all night and I'm going to get it done. And guess how much of that happened? Like -0. I did less than I did less than nothing. So you got to plan for it. Megan says it's free and will even work long enough for you to pay to connect the good Wi-Fi. I am totally not even sure what we're talking. Oh yeah, I lost my Megan. I'm just gonna feel your vibes and hope that I can circle back to that later. Emily says, yep, yesterday I spent about 4 hours working. I got distracted by the air conditioning in some clothing shops. Yup. Oh, right. Yeah, distracted by the air conditioning in the clothing shops. Yeah, because here's the thing. You know, speaking of moving slower when you're working on the road, you do also need to build in that time for sightseeing. You need to build in the time for the inevitable distractions or the people that you meet in the hotel lobby that want to get drinks tonight. And you want to make space for that, because what's the point of working while you're traveling if you don't actually get to enjoy the air conditioning in the clothing shops in Paris, where Emily is working right now. Emily, we just launched her site this week, bonvivantcopy.com. She actually has, this is a perfect topic for her because she is a copywriter for travel agencies and travel businesses. So I'm so glad to have you here, Emily. So yeah, I mean, everything is going to move slower on the road. Plan for that. Prepare for that. And you also want to test out your internet before you do any big, if you've got a big meeting and you're like relying on the Courtyard Marriott to hook you up, you better test out that Zoom connection before you do the live meeting. You got to test that net. So you want to test the net, you want to research, you want to have backups. So if your Courtyard Marriott's internet is down, which it has been for me, you want to know what's the closest coffee shop, when is it open, when is it, when is it closed, and if that coffee shop is, what are my backups here? And speaking of backups, we're here at my number 2 tip. And that is, I've seen a lot of digital nomads have tons of success when they plan their trips around co-working spaces. There are so many co-working spaces all around the world. Oh my gosh, there's this great website. What is it? It's desksharing.net, I think. Hold on, let me check. Desksurfing.net. If you go to desksurfing.net, you can check out all of the different co-working spaces in cities around the world, and you don't need a monthly subscription for a lot of them. A lot of co-working spaces offer a day pass. So if you're in Paris for a week and you need to get some work done and you don't want to worry, you don't want to rely on your local hotel internet, check out a co-working space there. See if you can get a day pass. Go there for the day, crank it out for 8 hours, and then spend the rest of your trip sightseeing. So planning your trip around co-working spaces and looking for co-working spaces where you're going to be traveling is brilliant. No, not everywhere where I was living in the world, in San Cristobal de las Casas, Chiapas, Mexico, there really or no co-working spaces, but there also was no shortage of cafes with internet. So I always had a good, in the early days when I was living there, and sometimes I didn't have internet at my home, I had like 3 to 5 go-to coffee shops that I would, kind of alternate between them to make sure that I had stable Wi-Fi, and I researched that and planned that ahead of time. So plan your trips around co-working spaces if you can. Co-working for the win. Am I right? So that's that. Here's another thing. So there are just going to be times when you don't have internet. Okay, so I mentioned before, I've worked on buses, I've worked on planes, I've worked on trains, I've worked in cars, I've worked, traveling across the bumpy mountain, landscape, going from Mexico to Guatemala, for example, in a 13-hour micro bus ride. And so how did I make sure to prepare? How did I plan and prepare for that? Well, I prepped my online stuff that I needed so that I could access it offline. So for example, sometimes when I'm designing a brand design, I will have a Pinterest board that I've created for myself to inspire me and give me different ideas as I'm putting together a brand. And so I will go the night before I know I'm going to be internetless for a day. I will go and I will download, a bunch of online content. I will download it for use offline so that I can still be super mega productive even when I can't connect to the internet. So I'll do research ahead of time and I'll download a bunch of articles. Let's say I'm writing a blog and I need to do some research. I'll do all my research ahead of time. I'll save those web pages on my computer, make sure I have that so I'm prepped for offline time, and I batch certain activities so that I know, okay, I'm going to have a whole 13 hours on a microbus tomorrow. I want to get a couple hours at least of productive time. How can I prepare myself for that offline time and make sure I'm still productive? So that's been a huge one for me, is prepping myself the night before, or sometimes the morning of, 5 minutes before we leave, downloading stuff off the internet. So that would be number 3. You want to plan for your offline time and prepare for that. Okay, number 4 is just, it's a quick one. It's an easy one. When I was living in Mexico for 8 years, I had a Mexican cell phone, but my clients, many of whom were U.S. based, didn't want to call my Mexican cell phone. It was very difficult for me to be like, hey, just dial +52 and then the 1 and then, nope, not going to do it. I want to keep it super easy for my clients. Even if I'm not there, I want to make it really easy for them to call a U.S. number. And so what I did is I set up a Skype number. I think it's like $70-something a year. And so I set up a Skype number and I have it I had it, actually still have it set up. It's still there. It's still working to redirect to my mobile phone. So I can tell a US-based client, hey, call me on my cell, give them a US number. It's not any additional charges for them. They don't have to worry about calling codes and all that good stuff. And that redirects to my cell. Now, am I getting charged, kind of a premium rate by Skype to do that? A little bit. I can't remember what the minute-by-minute cost of it was. But in terms, for me, of making it super easy for my clients and also helping them to feel like even though I'm not right by you, even though I'm not in the United States right now, I'm still here, ready to take care of you. You don't have to worry. You can access me. Here's a US-based number. That was a huge lifesaver for me. A game changer for me was buying a Skype number and then forwarding all my calls to my local mobile phone. So bing, bang, boom, shakaloom. Am I right? And so that's number 4. Get a Skype number, redirect it to your local, the foreign mobile phone. It works like a charm. Speaking of tools to help you do business, kind of, to feel like you're still doing business in your, home country, in my case, the United States, while you're away, there are so many amazing virtual mail services. One of my favorites that I used for a little while was Earth Class Mail. And so what it would do is you get your mail sent to either P.O. box, or you've got, your parents' address, or you've got a permanent address of some point or of some kind. Get your mail sent there. Earth Class Mail, you can forward it then to Earth Class Mail. They will scan your mail for you. They will put all the scans online. In many cases, they will send you, your packages or important mail documents that you need the actual physical mail. They'll send it to you wherever you will be in the world. So having a virtual mail service is amazing because, there are some certain mail, like, mail from the IRS or, mail from your, state government or whatever that you're going to want to have access to. And this avoids you having to ask your mom to go check your mail mailbags for you because, props to my mom. She did so much unpaid, assistant work when I was living in Mexico. And that actually leads me to my number 6 tip, which is that I highly recommend hiring someone back home, if you will, to, maybe on a retainer basis, a couple hours a month, to be your kind of homebound assistant. So there are going to, inevitably be things that you have to do that have to kind of take place in your country, or things that have to go through the mail. And for me in Mexico, for example, if I sent something in the mail, it would be months before it would arrive. People would send me mail in I got my cousin's wedding invitation 6 months after her wedding took place. Okay, and finally I got the invitation. Sorry, I did an RSVP. I got the invitation 6 months late. So there were certain things that I needed to get done, in the States when I was in Mexico. And if I had, this is not something that I did. This is something I would do if I was going back, which would be to hire an assistant in the States to help me with some of those kind of you gotta be there activities, and give my good old mom a break because she got kind of sick of being my unpaid assistant, I gotta say. So that would be, what is that, my number 6 tip? I kind of moved it up. All right, speaking of things that my mom did for me out of the kindness of her heart when I was working in Mexico, you also want to check and make sure before you hit the road that you are working with, you've got a bank that will send you replacement debit cards or credit cards in the mail wherever you may be in the universe. So I didn't do that. That was a lesson I learned the hard way. I didn't do that. So how many times did my debit card get stolen when I was in Mexico? How many times did I accidentally leave it in an ATM? I don't want to tell you, okay? It's embarrassing, but it was a lot. And so, I learned the hard way that that I didn't have a bank that was friendly to that. I didn't have a bank that was friendly to travel. Not only that, but every damn month I had to call my bank and remind them that I wasn't in the States because they'd put a hold on my account. And there's nothing worse than being at an ATM, trying to get money out and then blocking you and you having to go back to wherever you're staying or living, call them up on the phone, get them to unblock your card. So you really want to have a travel-friendly bank. You want to look into, if I'm in Morocco and I get my debit card stolen, will my bank send me a new one, or am I going to have them send it to my mom, who then FedExes it to me, and I'm waiting by the FedEx office or whatever. Just don't do it, guys. Make sure your bank has your back. That's number 7. That is number 7. Okay. All right, let's talk about, speaking of disasters, you also want to make sure that you've got backup tech. Okay, not only do you want to make sure you have backup internet solutions, if your hotel internet goes down, is there a cafe close, is there a co-working space, you also want to have backup tech. And I know this isn't sexy to say because it's, when you're living the digital nomad life, it's all about packing light, but here are some items that are going to be really important for you to add to your backpack, if you will. You want to have an extra power cord, okay? Just get that extra power cord. I can't tell you how many times I was in places in the world where, they had to order out, my MacBook power cord went on the fritz and they had to order it from across the country or from another country. It was going to take a few weeks without my computer. Oh my goodness. And, maybe you're lucky to happen upon a fellow traveler that will lend you their laptop cord. But in my case, I wasn't always so lucky. So having extra cord for your computer is huge. And maybe you've seen those commercials happening because they're, for Apple, they're plugging their new iPad Pro. But I got to tell you, I got one a couple of years ago, got one of those little portable keyboards, and having that as a backup was great because there were times when it was just easier to take that with me to a coffee shop than my clunky laptop. And also, yes, I've had computers crap out on me in the middle of, and I got to hit a deadline. I have no backups. Nobody can lend me a computer. Having backup tech is so important. Not to mention the fact that there are so many places in the world where there won't be like a local Apple store. There won't be a local shop that's going to, you're going to have to send out your tech, far away and wait weeks for it to come back to you. That was my case. Where we were living in Mexico, there was no Apple store anywhere near. And to get my Mac back required me to wait several weeks, to get it serviced. So that's a nightmare. So you just want to have some backup tech. And Sophia says she loves her iPad Pro so much. I'm one of those nerds with 2 screens, right? Ooh, dude, you need to teach me how to do. I've never done a 2 screen. Do you do the 2 screens with the iPad Pro in your computer, or this is a hack I need in my life? Okay, yes. So I'm loving the iPad Pro, and I love that as a backup computer. I think it's really great. I'm a web designer, so it doesn't do all the massive heavy lifting, but definitely emails, client communications, doing some light design work, research, all of that good stuff can happen on an iPad Pro, and just making sure I got that, tech backup that I need. All right. My number 9 tip, and this tip, I always find a way to sneak this tip in because I can't say it enough. When you're working on the road, whether you're on vacay or you're doing it permanently like I did, you want to get keyed in and hooked up into some amazing online communities. I'm in a couple awesome online communities. I could not run my business without. Not only do I get leads and all that good stuff, that happens, but really it's about camaraderie. It's about not feeling alone. It's about having a sense of, having coworkers, having teammates who are on your side and not feeling, lonely, as well as, if you're traveling with or, around other people that don't really understand what it's like to run a business on the road, it can just be so supportive and heartening to have those people, who have your back. So being connected to online communities was vital for me, as well as, I when I was first starting my biz, I didn't have the opportunity to go to in-person networking events. It wasn't, I was in Mexico. That wasn't my clientele. I wasn't targeting local people. I wasn't trying to take away jobs from any local designers. So, being engaged in online communities really just, kept me going and kept me moving forward and kept me growing as a business owner, and all the support and camaraderie is priceless. So, you got to get hooked up into some online communities. And okay. I'm actually going to throw in an extra one. Number 10, because I got a number 11 for you. It's like my favorite tip ever. So number 11 is on its way. But number 10 would be, you got to get a good accountant that specializes in expat taxes and accounting. Okay? I didn't do this until the last few years. And I got to tell you, first of all, this accountant saved me thousands of dollars. Because if you're in the United States and you spend most of your year out of the country, you can actually get a tax credit, or it's actually, I don't know if that's what it is. I'm not an accountant, okay? Don't take my word for it. But you can get you will get tax benefits for not being in the United States. The foreign earned income credit. And thanks to my amazing expat accountant, I was able to save thousands of dollars because he knew all the tricks. So having an amazing accountant that specializes in taxes for people who are digital nomads will save you thousands of dollars and headaches. Because there's nothing worse than doing your taxes when you're overseas. It's like if you need help, ain't nobody coming for you. You know what I'm saying? So get yourself a good accountant. And that's another shout out to my mom. She's not my accountant, but she is a accountant. And I just wanted to say, I admire you, Mom. Thanks for everything. Okay. So number 11, I told you it's my favorite tip. And this is just a life hack that I like to tell. Okay. You're waiting in the airport, and maybe you're waiting in the bus station, or you're waiting in the train station. You're waiting in the airport to board your plane. When you're boarding your plane, like everybody rushes to get in line, like everybody wants to be first in line, and then they wait. And they wait for 15, 20, 30 minutes, while, boarding slowly, like inching up. Oh, this person ahead of me moved up a couple steps. I got to move up a couple steps. And then you just wait and wait. What? My number 11 tip, this is my favorite hack for traveling in general, always be the last person on the plane, okay? Because otherwise what you're doing is you're just standing and waiting and wasting your time. So, I don't know if any of you are like me, but I like to get those every last minute I can before I board the plane to juice up my laptop, right? And so I want to get all that good laptop juice. So I'm sitting, watching everybody just stand in line, inching forward, and I'm just computing and productivitying and all that good stuff. And the truth is, if your baggage doesn't fit in the overhead compartments because it's all full, the flight attendants will find a solution for you. So you're not going to be screwed. It's like, always be the first, the last person on the plane. And honestly, also the last person off the plane. Unless you got a connection, why, are you going to be that person standing up in the aisle with like your head under the overhead bin, like uncomfortably for 20 minutes, like waiting for everybody to deplane? Nah. Sit back, chill out, get some work done. Always be the first one. Always be the last one on the plane. The last one off the plane if you can afford it because you don't have a connection. That's it, guys. That's my favorite travel hack. I love it. And, you get so much more work done, and then you're not just standing and waiting, right? Oh, gosh, this is a fun one. I could go on all day, but I won't. It's been 25 minutes of pure awesomeness. Am I right? But you, too, can work from anywhere. Just know that today's office selfie that you put on Instagram, that's a glamour selfie. That's for your ego. It's not real. Nobody gets shit done on the beach. Nobody. Other than people who work on the beach. There actually are people. So I don't want to say nobody. People who actually work on the beach, that is their job, beachside work. But, you and your laptop have no business working on the beach. Go to your hotel room, go to your hostel, go wherever go wherever you go, crank that stuff out, and then go on the beach and enjoy the beach. But if you want to take that working on the beach selfie, I won't blame you. I've done it many times, but just know it's a fantasy. It's a fantasy. It's not reality. That's it, guys. Those are my 11 tips for working from anywhere. And I will be taking this on the road in just a couple weeks. I'm going to Charleston, South Carolina, visiting some friends. Going to check out some co-working spaces there and take my own advice. Oh my gosh. Speaking of awesome tools, which I didn't even speak of this, I've got this amazing thing. It's an inverter. This is what's going to make my road trip happen. So this I can plug into the little cigarette outlet in my car, and I'm, thanks to my amazing hubby who's going to be driving, I will be getting work done on the road. Oh my gosh, what's been a game changer for me ever since I came back to the States? Personal hotspots. I can do everything now in my car while traveling. So this little baby is amazing. It keeps me working when I'm on road trips in my car. Couldn't live without it. So get yourself an inverter. If you love your iPad Pro, you can also get a little pocket charger. This is called Pocket Juice. Connects to anything with a USB, so it can hook up, can charge up your phone, charge up your iPad Pro. Can't charge a laptop, but this I carry in my purse, or actually, who am I kidding? My husband carries in his man satchel. And whenever I'm running low, I'm like, honey, can you juice me up? So that's that. Working on the road. Get it? Inverter is life! Yes, Megan, All right, Sophia, Megan, Shannon, so excited to see you here. Hope you have a great week. I'll see you on the road in a little bit. Talk to you next week. This has been another episode of Awkward Marketing.